Thanks for tuning in to the Medevac podcast, powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you're new to the Medevac podcast, please keep in mind there's a price for the show. You have to share it with a friend or family member if you get something out of today's episode. Let me tell you, you're going to get something out of today's episode.
We have an incredible story today. We're going with a little bit of a different direction than we usually do.
Yeah, you might have heard on the previous episode that there's some direction shifts with the show. We're trying to include more civilians in the audience and give a more general picture of what it's like to encounter hard circumstances and showcase the resiliency and recovery on the other side without having the military background or first responder background.
Because we're all in this together. And I think that everybody's story brings it all together. So let's talk about our awesome guests today. Yeah. Who do we have?
Tracy Otto and Rick Reissle. I said it right this time.
Yes.
Yes. Rice Krispies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Oh, yeah. There we go. That's amazing.
Yeah. So Tracy and Rick have an incredible story, and thank you guys very much for joining us today.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're just going to hop right in. We typically do, like we said, chronologically. So tell us a little bit about how you guys grew up, where you're from, what were your interests growing up, and what led you to finding each other.
I do want to preface the show a little bit. I want to give a little bit of context to this story because I think it's just so important. And you're sitting there just, ready to do this with such a positive attitude, but you've experienced so much. And we're going to dive into that. But preface the show a little bit as getting shot, having to deal with, lawsuits and sitting in a chair for the rest of your life. I mean, it's got to be tough. But we're going to rewind that back and talk about, where you grew up and who you are as people.
That's such a loaded, that's such a hard one, like interview questions. When you go for a job, it's like, all right, tell me about you. Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I'm feeling. I'm like, well, I don't
This
really
is
know.
also an interview, a job interview.
I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Tracy Otto. I'm 27 years old. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
And I lived in the city for a couple years when I went to college and just kind of bounced around a bunch. Mm-hmm. Growing up as a kid wasn't the greatest. Parents were really into drugs and, drug, sex, rock and roll. That was kind of their lifestyle. And I saw that and I was just like, I don't want that for me. So I just kind of set out to do the opposite. And
isn't that funny how you could go with two different directions growing up? You could either become your parents or you're going to be the opposite of your parents.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of my siblings went the other direction. And I was just like, God, I don't want that life. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's something psychological. It's just like, this is the way I grew up and this is all I know. So that's the direction I'm going to head. Mm-hmm. Or, you have the other option that I took. It's like, all right, I don't want that. But I don't know what separates the two.
Well, what direction did you decide to take?
I wanted to go to college and take over the world. And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that you have to go to college to take over the world, but I just wanted to do that and make something of myself.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. What did you study while you were in college?
I was pre-med.
Okay.
And now I'm finishing college. Did you really?
I did that as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I decided to go the business route after getting accepted into medical school, oddly enough.
Me too. I just switched to business administration and digital marketing.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Different world completely, but totally understand that. And that is a tough thing to accomplish, pre-med. Did you, and you finished?
I didn't. I did not finish. Okay. I went to University of Tampa for a little bit, and then I got injured, so I didn't have time to finish.
Yeah, and this was this century.
Say again?
You were going to school currently. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was in school, and I was working, and I ended up having to drop out because the guy that I was with was basically a mooch and wasn't taking care of what he needed to take care of, long story short.
Yeah, well, that's why you date men. So you went, and this was, paint the picture a little bit, year what? Were you going to school? In what year?
2018, 2019.
Okay.
About the time. I graduated high school in 2000. My school timeline is kind of messed up. So I graduated high school in 2013, a year early. And then I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, took a break. I had a lot of life happen in between that. and then moved to Florida and went to University of Tampa in 2018.
Okay. Was there something that you said you had a lot of life in between that? Was there something that prompted the move out there? Or?
Well, I had met my ex-boyfriend, Frank. I'll just introduce him into the show now. My ex-boyfriend, Frank. And he wanted to go into the airlines. And I was like, okay, well, go for it. And I wanted to finish school too. So he was like, well, we can move down to Florida. There's a bunch of airline schools down there. And I'm like, okay, well, why not?
Yeah.
And
sense.
so I packed up, moved, and we just ended up living there for about 18 months. And then the attack happened.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man. So,
Okay.
Yeah. My timeline's really crazy.
No, it's all right.
That is okay. So before we get into that, I want to hear your background as well.
My name is Rick Reissle. I grew up just outside of Boston.
Boston and Chicago.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Crazy.
Oh boy.
You guys are
Luckily,
too
I'm not
nice
into
to be.
sports.
Yeah. You guys are too nice to be from Boston and Chicago.
Yeah, I was raised by my mom, single parent.
Okay.
So, my brother. So I have a brother and a sister. Both were older than me. I lost my brother 13 years ago to colon cancer, and that kind of drove me. I had to get away.
Yeah.
And I took off to Florida and lived there for years. I ran a restaurant for some years, and then I got married.
What kind of restaurant?
Carrabba's Italian Grill.
Oh.
Is that in Tampa?
They started in Texas,
Italian.
in Kirby, Texas, actually.
For some reason, I can't. If I'm staring at an Italian dish, I'll eat the whole thing and more. That's the problem.
It happens.
It's just the Italians love carbs.
And they're
all
so
the
good.
I know, it's not
They're so
fair.
good.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
fair. So
And you know me, I love chicken parmesan, but it's not a true Italian dish. Did you know
It's-
that?
no.
So you go
Did
to a
not.
true Italian place, they'll be like, "No, I'm not going to make that for you."
I did not know that.
I did not know that
Yeah.
either. Well, why?
The more
Someone's
you
going to
know.
fact check and
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
that's bullshit. My great grandpappy. Anyway, I digress on that. So restaurant, you know, I mean, are you familiar with Robert Irvine?
I am not.
Yeah, so celebrity chef, you know, he sponsors the show as well, runs restaurants. So Food Network's Restaurant Impossible. So we know a little bit
have to
about
check
food
that
as
out.
well. Not Italian restaurants, but
And in the area, too, surprisingly.
I will have to definitely check him out then.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. But anyway, so you're running restaurants and you're out in Tampa
Yep.
as well.
Out in Tampa. And then I actually moved to Chicago, which is weird because that's where Tracy's from.
Yeah.
She was in Florida while I was in
It's
Chicago.
kind of like you were following her without her knowing you yet.
Yeah.
I was a
Trade
little
places.
behind her.
Stalking me my whole life? Like,
Maybe. Sounds to me like we have, you know, we'll preface this with a little bit of a guardian angel here. So,
yeah, absolutely.
so yeah, that's a great background. Great background. Running restaurants is no easy feat, by the way.
No, it was
And
it
it's
was a
dirty,
lot.
and you smell all the time.
Yeah, the oil gets in your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were you doing in Chicago? You left Florida for Chicago?
I left Florida for Chicago, moved up there for a couple years with my ex-wife.
Okay.
And then we were going through a divorce, so actually I met Tracy towards the end of it
Okay.
and was moving back to Florida when everything happened.
Okay.
The timeline for that too is kind of confusing because the whole me living in Florida, him living in Chicago, me being from Chicago,
Yeah.
and then when we segue into the what happened, we'll tell you because I was visiting Chicago
Okay.
on our first date, and then we flew back to Florida, and then it was our second date when we got attacked.
Okay, let's
wow.
just dive right in now.
Okay, I feel like everybody's like,
We're here.
we just want to know.
We're here.
We just
Yeah.
want to know.
Okay, yeah. So obviously you went through a very, very traumatic experience, and I want to rewind it right from the beginning. So let's consolidate that. You go back to Chicago from Tampa. You're in school, studying pre-med, and he happens to go back to Chicago as well, or you lived out there at the time.
So I was living out there.
Okay.
We met in Florida. This is where it gets really confusing.
Okay.
We met in Florida in September of 2019.
Okay.
I had flown down to Florida. I had lost a good friend of mine accidentally. We were having a celebration of life for him, and she was the bartender.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we met.
Yes.
Perfect.
Next day,
Well, you had to have the moves because every bartender I've ever talked to just walks to the opposite end of the bar.
He's in the industry.
You pig! I just asked for a napkin.
I just wanted a glass of water. Like,
I'm not even drinking.
yeah.
You know? Yeah. So you met her as a bartender. That's great.
Yep.
And I mean, but obviously you're going through a tough time too. So is that, were you connected a little bit or?
it was kind of a fluke, really. He wanted Miller Lite all night, and we were just, I don't even know.
And you were charmed by
just,
that, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I actually didn't even really notice
Yeah.
that he kept coming back to me to get his drinks until later on when everything had died down because there's quite a bit of people there. But we were just talking, hanging out. I ended up wanting to hang out with them, and I was like, okay, well, let's chill. And then it all went up from there.
Okay. Well, we'll just let you, well, I'm sure you've got kind of the story put together in your head. So can you explain kind of what happened from start to finish?
Yeah. Ricky, why don't you start with the beginning? Because I'm horrible with the timeline. I bounce around way too much.
So we met in September, and then she came to Chicago in October for her brother's birthday.
Okay.
We reconnected again, hung out, and then she had been going through a breakup with Frank.
Okay.
And talking back and forth, she wasn't I don't even know how to say it. She was kind of nervous to go back. Didn't know what was going on with him. She needed some help to get out of that house, and she
Yeah,
didn't
we were
have
renting a
really
house.
anybody in Florida.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'll come back, help you out. And so we flew back to Tampa October 17th.
Around there. Yeah, somewhere around there.
And had you been with Frank very, very long at this point?
Yeah, we were
years?
together for about 18 months.
Okay.
And
So a little bit.
yeah, we were just kind of on the outs. We had an incident in August of 2019 where we had a really bad fight, and he grabbed me and threw me across a room.
Okay.
So he had history of being physical.
Yeah, it had just kind of started. So everything happened in August where he threw me across the room. I called the police, but I ended up dropping the charges because I listened to his mom. I was codependent, and I wasn't in a good headspace. So I listened to his mom. I trusted her.
Sure.
And she convinced me to drop the charges, so I did. And if I hadn't dropped those charges, I wouldn't be paralyzed because he would have been in jail for a year.
Man.
But so we were on the outs, and everything just wasn't going good. And then we went to Chicago, came back, and I'm trying to think of the night. So all of this is just it's a lot to process,
Absolutely.
to talk about. But we went to bed that night, and I remember we had a glass of wine, we made dinner, my friend showed up, and it ended up being a really great night. But at the end of it, I took my glass of wine, I put it on my nightstand, and I remember just turning over to, snuggle into the cool sheets and get comfy, and he was getting ready to go to bed. We had American Horror Story playing in the background. And then we were just woken up by a really bright light, and it was a familiar voice that I knew, but I was just really confused because we were dead asleep.
Okay.
And we had no idea that anybody was there.
Yeah.
So he woke us up with the bright light and screamed at us to get out of bed, and he told us that if he wasn't going to kill himself, he was going to call the police, and that he was going to kill us, and that if I hadn't seen crazy before, we were really going to see crazy now. And that's when he went after you first, right? I don't remember. I don't remember most of the incident because I was knocked out right away.
Sure.
He punched me in the face as soon as I got out of bed and then kicked me in the stomach. So I lost consciousness really quickly. But he did all that and then went after Ricky.
So we broke in, said what she just said, that
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you guys, and then I'm either going to kill myself or call the police while he's pointing a gun at us. And
I saw that gun and my heart just...
Yeah. What's that moment like? I'm sure there's a lot. going
Still
through your
hate
head.
falling asleep.
Yeah.
Is it, I mean, was it shock that you felt? I mean, it's got to be surreal at that
It
point.
was so... I thought I was dreaming, to be honest. When I first sat up, I'm like, this is not real.
Yeah.
And I
Come
asked
on.
him, I was like, Frank, what
and
are
you didn't
you
hear
doing?
a break-in or anything like that?
Nothing.
He had a key.
Oh, he had a key.
Yep.
It
They
was,
had separated.
it was because we had separated a few weeks prior.
Sure.
And like I said, we were in Chicago, and my dogs were with my friend, and she had the key to my house, and she ended up not being able to take care of them because something happened with her apartment. I don't even know.
Okay.
And I told her, because he had alienated me from all of my friends, and I told her, I was like, go ahead and give Frank the key. He's going to take care of the dogs.
Okay.
And I told Frank, I was like, you need to put the key in the mailbox, because I had changed the locks on my house. And before all of this had happened. And I told her to give him the key, and I told him to put it in the mailbox when I got home, and he never did.
Okay.
So that's how he was able to get in.
That makes sense.
Silently, yeah. So that was my
Silently.
question. Silently came in, puts a flashlight right down your face,
Yep.
points a gun,
Points a gun, demands...
tells you to get up.
And I saw that gun, my heart just
Yeah.
And his temperature is very heated. He's
Yes. Yeah.
very
He's screaming at us. And I'm like, okay. He's like, what do you fucking do? Excuse me.
Oh, you can correct. Yeah, you're fine.
You're fine.
He was screaming at us and telling Tracy to get the fuck out of bed. And she stood up. And I think that's when I realized that shit's about to go down. He hit her so hard. I've never seen anybody get hit so hard in my life.
Yeah.
And as soon as he hit her, she fell. And I went to get up as he was kicking her. And he just turned around, boom, boom, right to my forehead. Fell backwards. I was like...
He just turns around and opens fire on you.
Just
well, to kind of
puts the
like,
gun to my forehead.
it wasn't a real gun.
Okay.
It was a high-powered pellet gun.
Okay.
So like one of those airsoft guns that
Yeah.
used to kill small animals and stuff.
Yeah.
But he got the metal
With
pellets.
CO2 in it.
Yeah, he purchased the pellets that you can use to really do some damage.
Yeah, the pointy pellets.
Yes, the metal ones.
Those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, those. Yeah, so and
Cause
point
damage.
blank like that.
Point blank, shot me twice in the forehead. I fell backwards, and I was like, I'm not dead. Like, let's go. And I went to get up, and blood just started pouring out of my mouth. I thought he punched me in the back, but he actually stabbed me in the back through my lungs.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of just keeled over and was out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I came back to, and he was over by her. I couldn't really see what he was doing, but I went to get back up, and he shot me a few more times in the temple, right behind, like right above my ear.
So he was trying to find soft
he was.
areas.
Yeah. His goal was to take our life.
Yeah.
Was he coherent during? Like, did he seem coherent?
Oh
during
yeah,
this?
he
He
was
wasn't on a drop of alcohol
no,
or
he was
drugs.
totally sober.
Completely sober.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're lights out.
Yeah, I'm unconscious.
You're
Done.
you're done.
yeah.
Blood pouring out of my mouth. Next thing I came to, he was standing over me on the phone with somebody. Didn't know really what was going on. I was in and out of consciousness. And then the next thing I know, I heard the front door shut, and I heard her gasping for air, not knowing what happened to her.
Well, before we go into that part, why don't we tell them what happened to me? So, after he took him out, he came after me, and I don't remember all of it, but he stabbed me in the back of the neck, which is what ultimately paralyzed me. And he shot me down my throat. I remember him screaming at me. He's like, "Open your fucking mouth." And he put it in my mouth and fired it down into my throat. And then he shot me in my neck, and he inserted it into my vagina and raped me with it and fired it inside of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And through her left eye.
And through my left eye. I always forget about that. But yeah, he shot me through my left eye too. So the pellet was buried into my skull. Yeah. They had to completely remove my eye because it exploded it. Yeah. So they weren't sure if the pellet had gone back far enough to hit my brain. So they had to remove the eye. There was nothing they could do.
Okay. So how did you guys, were you able to call for help from there, or?
That's where, yeah.
So
you're both down.
Down and
Yeah.
There's no, we were dying. There
door
was
shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was blacking in and out, like I said. I heard her breathing, and I was trying to crawl to her. And the next thing I remember was Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office call out. And with everything I had, I screamed in the back. And thank God he was a pussy and called the police and didn't kill himself, because we both would have died right there. Wow. So he called the police on himself and saved our lives.
What did he say to the police?
Oh, it's so bone
Oh my
chilling.
gosh. We should have brought it. We got the 911 call.
Oh, we can
insert
loop
that
in.
for sure.
We have it.
We have it.
Whew.
Yeah, we got the 911 call. He said, "My name is Frank Del Medico. This is where I'm at. He said that I was his girlfriend, but he's like, I just killed my girlfriend and her boyfriend, and don't tackle me when you get here," basically.
Yep. The weapons will be on the front seat of my car. I'll be standing in the driveway. There's no need to use force. I'll go willingly. And then, obviously, the police came in. Yeah. They came rushing to me because I was talking and moving.
Yeah.
And I was like, she just stopped breathing. Get over to her.
Yeah.
And so one guy stayed with me. A couple went to her. And then I saw her roll out. And I honestly thought it was the last time I was going to see her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story.
It's been crazy.
It's heavy.
And that's the first start of it.
That's the beginning.
That lasted several minutes.
Yeah. Well,
which felt like a lifetime, I'm sure.
Yeah, the course of it was kind of a few hours, actually, because what ended up happening is he parked in our driveway. He went into my backyard. He said he was trying to see if I was okay. He told the police. Yeah, he went into the backyard, looked through the window.
Sense.
Oh, yeah, total sense. Let me go in your backyard and look through your window.
To make sure you're okay before I murder you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So he looked through the window. We were sleeping. He went to Walmart, bought the high-powered pellet gun and a knife, came back, and then did everything.
So premeditated.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, he had time. So there was a couple hours that...
He said he told the police he looked through the window at about 11:30 and he came back at 1:30 in the morning. So, that's a lot of premeditation.
He's also dug his own grave on this one.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, we talked about this in the beginning. We'll get there, but says he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, says he didn't do it. So let's talk about that. The county sheriff comes to the door.
They come in.
You manage to let out cry for help.
Yep.
And what's next?
They, like I said, they come rushing in, guns drawn with flashlights. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, still not quite understanding what had just happened.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they were working on her. She got in the gurney, gone. And then they got me in the hospital, into the ambulance. And in my ambulance, they were trying to stab me.
Yeah, because you got lungs full of blood.
Lungs full of blood. That they're like, hey, we're going to poke you. And I'm like, do whatever you need to do.
Decompression, yeah.
And they couldn't, I just remember they couldn't find where to go through. I think it was right up here.
Side of the ribs. Amateurs.
They went up here.
Yeah.
And once he finally, he's like, it might hurt a little bit. I'm like, okay. And he finally got that through. Blood went squirting everywhere. And I went,
you can breathe.
Oh my gosh. Like, okay, trying to figure out if she's all right. And they're like, just lay down, relax. Like, so
how do you relax after, I have to say, how do you relax after something like that?
Yeah.
You don't.
You can't.
Like, calm down. Everything is fine. What? No.
So we get to the hospital. We had to go past 3 hospitals to get to Tampa General because they were the only Trauma 1 unit that could work on us.
Okay. That's all right.
And they put us in the rooms next to each other, separated by a curtain. I could hear her calling, and they wouldn't let me see her, talk to her, nothing. And then she went quiet and through.
Because I was asking for him. I was calling out his name. I was like, Ricky, where are you? I because I didn't know what happened to him. I knew something bad happened.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what. And we were literally separated by this curtain. And we went in as does because they had us in with these aliases because they didn't know if someone was going to come back after us.
Okay.
Or they didn't know if he did it.
Yeah, if I was the one that did it to her. So they wouldn't tell me anything. And then she went quiet. And I just... Oh, that was gross.
You're fine.
In the hospital bed, there was a gap in the curtain. And I saw her roll by motionless and was like, he did it. He fucking killed her. And now I'm going to kill him. Like, all I wanted to do was go kill him.
Yeah.
And then I got up in my room a couple hours later or whatever, still wouldn't tell me a thing about her. And my nurse was like, I was like, can I check myself out? She's like, no, like you have to be able to breathe before you can leave.
Yeah.
And I said, what does this take? And she handed me a little blow machine. And she said, until you can keep that ball at a certain thing for 30 seconds or something, you're stuck here. And I did it in, I think, 24 hours. And she said it would probably take 4 or 5 days before I was able to. So I did it. And then, so that was, we got attacked on a Wednesday night. Thursday, all day in the hospital. Thursday, all day in the hospital.
Surgery
Friday,
after surgery after surgery.
Yeah.
they told me I was going to be in surgery for about 30 minutes to get the pellets out of my forehead, but they didn't realize how intense they were embedded into my skull.
Yeah.
So it took about 5.5 hours.
And how far were they embedded in your skull? Like just bone?
Yeah, just didn't go through any of the bone in the skull.
And
but
including the temple.
these ones, one of them, I still have shrapnel in my ear. Okay. I don't know if there's shrapnel in there, but I have hearing loss in my right ear because one of them went so far in.
We have the pictures and stuff we can show you.
Yep, we'll get you guys
what everything
everything.
looked like.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's and then Friday night, I'll never forget this. Friday night, my nurse knew her nurse because she was in ICU. Obviously, she had a lot worse injuries than I did.
Yeah.
So Friday night, my nurse came in and she goes, "Hey," it was about 9:00 at night. She goes, "You have 30 minutes. You're gonna go." I remember it like it was yesterday. You're gonna go out your door. You're gonna take a right. You're gonna go to the second set of elevators. You're going to go down to the bottom floor. When you get off the elevator, take a left. Go past the cafeteria like you're leaving the hospital, but take a right just before you exit. Go down that hallway. Go to the second set of elevators. Go up 2 floors. You're going to get off, and there's going to just be a door. Next to the door, there's a phone. Pick up the phone and ask for her nurse. And I said, okay. Boom. Sprinting down the hallway with just that.
The hospital gown.
Hospital gown.
Yeah, your butt hanging out.
Butt hanging out, sprinting. I mean, as fast as I could
I don't
run
know
with
how
not being
nobody
able to breathe.
stopped you. Like
There was nobody going to stop me to get to you. And I'll never forget walking into that room and seeing her.
we have a picture of that too.
Yeah.
The first
I believe
time.
I saw that picture.
Yeah.
It
The first
was,
time.
That's a heartbreaking picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A beautiful moment, though.
Yeah.
I'm
It was the first time I opened my eyes and tried to talk, but I was intubated, so I was gagging on the tubes.
Yeah.
But it was my first time opening my eyes. And he was the first person I saw.
And what's going through your head, Rick?
A lot, honestly. Like, happy she was alive.
Yeah.
But I had known at that point that she was paralyzed. She hadn't known yet. And trying to figure out how we were going to do it. Like, am I going to go up to Chicago, help her out? Is she going back with her family? Like, instantly things just started.
Thousands of thoughts are
Yes.
crossing your mind.
Yeah. But the first one, obviously, oh my God, she is alive. Like, she'll be okay. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot.
And let's go back to you. While you're getting your recovery, I'm sure you're visited by copious amounts of doctors at this time that are telling you news that you're probably not excited about, in the very least. It's not, what's that like? I mean, what are they telling you? What's going on? Like, what's your chances of recovery? I'm sure.
The weird thing is, well, in my experience, no one will ever tell you that you're not going to walk again.
Yeah.
They won't be like, oh, you're paralyzed and you're never going to walk again, because
There's no straight answers.
Yeah, there's no straight answer. They don't know how the spinal cord is going to heal. You really don't know. But mine was transected or severed. So I knew, based on how my body felt when I woke up, I'm like, I know that I'm done. This isn't going to be a thing. So the doctors told me that I was paralyzed. I have a complete spinal cord injury from C5 to C7. And then it kind of, I just wanted to know what happened. And I had amnesia. I just kept asking over and over again, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, tell me what happened. And they couldn't really give me detail because I still had to be interviewed by the detectives.
Yeah.
So the detectives ended up coming to the hospital and giving me a kind of a photo lineup there. And I was like, oh, that's him. I knew immediately. And they're like 100% without a doubt. And I was like, yeah, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
when did that take place?
that was about probably the second week. I spent a week in the ICU.
Okay.
I don't know how long I was intubated for. I want to say it was like 3 days.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah. 3 or 4 days. And then I was in the ICU for a week and then another week in the regular hospital after that. So it was on that second week that they came and asked me.
So they gave you a few days to recover.
Be conscious and recover. Yeah, because I just had all these surgeries because they had to go in and remove the pellet from my cervix. They had to do, I don't know what it's called, a laryngoscopy or something. Where they go into the larynx and they had to remove the pellet from there. They had to remove my eye. There was so much surgery.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to recover and kind of get my wits back.
Sure.
So
Was it too fast? The police talking to you, or was it a good time? You were ready to talk about it.
Oh no, I was ready to talk about it. I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get everything out. I wanted to know.
So as soon as the tubes came out, it was why? What happened? What happened? What happened? And I was instructed by the sheriffs, hey, can't really tell her anything. We need to know what she remembers. So it was killing me for days and days of her. Will you just tell me what I can't. Because I didn't want to put what I saw into her
mind. And how did that make you feel? Did you feel a little like irritated by him not telling you?
I was so frustrated. I'm like, just tell me. Like, I want to know what happened to me because this is a catastrophic injury. This is not, a cut finger. Or
a stab wound for that matter, which is catastrophic in itself.
I wanted to know what happened to me and I knew it was bad. And I was so curious and I just really wanted to know.
Yeah. Trying to
piece everything together because I didn't remember.
Yeah.
I blacked out. So I remembered pieces of the attack, but I didn't remember the whole thing. And I just wanted to know the timeline of everything that happened.
Man. So the detectives come and they speak with you. They show you the lineup. You're obviously able to ID him very quickly. So from there, had they arrested him already, or?
Yeah, they arrested him immediately.
Okay.
He was waiting. He handcuffed himself in the driveway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't get shot.
Yeah, he handcuffed himself.
He was very apparent that he didn't want the police to take him down.
Yeah, he said it multiple times.
So he thought about taking his own life, obviously, and said, "No, I can't do it." And I just want to ask her, what's the police talking about his temperament? Like, what is he doing while you're doing all of this?
He was so chill. He was so chill. He tried to fall asleep in the back of the cop car.
He was schmoozing. We just watched all of this. A 2-hour video
a couple of days
him
ago,
sitting in the back of the cop car. They would let him out a little bit just to move. But for the most part, he was having a normal conversation. Oh, yeah. What do you think of this? What do you think of this?
What's your sergeant like?
Yeah.
And he said,
how did you get this post? How come you can't go in there? Can I call my mom? He was so concerned about his mom. All he wanted to do.
Just totally detached from the situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He curled up into the back of the cop car and he was trying to get comfortable. And then he's like, can you guys take the handcuffs off? Like, I'm not going to go anywhere. I just want to kind of get comfortable. And the cops being, oh, yeah, we'll get them in a second, and then walk away.
Yeah.
It was a half hour before somebody else came back to talk to him. But
this is
just so calming that it was
creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy. That's
and in the
creepy.
911 call that he placed 2 of them. He called once and then hung up and then called back and said what he did again. In the call, he was like proud of what he did. He's like, yeah, I just killed my girlfriend and her new boyfriend.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And when he got into the squad car, when they had gotten there, he said, I decided that if she wasn't going to be happy with me, she's not going to be happy with anybody.
Wow. Sickening.
Yeah.
To have that train of thought that's terrifying.
And this is something that you didn't really capture prior. I mean, I get he had one incident that ended everything, which is like, I mean, that's admirable on your end to say enough's enough on a relationship all in itself. But there was no indication prior to this that he was psychotic.
You don't this is the person that sorry to be like weird. Sorry, I
You're
want to be
good.
respectful of
Stop.
you. But like,
You're
this
good.
is the person that I was like having sex with. This is the person I was going to bed at night, you know, saying that I love you, saying all of these things. Like, that's your person.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, being in a relationship with someone now and turning to you, be like, I'm going to kill you. Like, what?
But they betrayed you.
Yes,
They
it's the ultimate
beat
betrayal.
You,
Yeah.
Yes.
and you have to be punished for it.
Yes.
I don't understand that train of thought.
Me neither. I don't.
And I'm sure that you have spent countless hours trying to get inside the mind of that man.
Oh, yeah. I think about it. I mean, I try not to think about it, but like it's a constant reminder, just trying to pick something up or, you know,
anything,
anything.
everything.
Like this happened. It is real. And it doesn't, I detach myself from it so much. But when I do get into that mindset, I'm just like, what was going on in his head? And there's like a morbid fascination that I have with it because we just got the evidence like last week or a few days ago. And I'm going through all of this, trying to piece it together and figure this out because, like I said, I don't have any memory of it. It's like picking a scab, but at the same time, pick the scab, get the infection out, and then let it heal into a scar. You know?
Yeah.
So it was a lot.
Yeah. Ultimately, there probably is no answer for why.
And I'll never get
no
one. And I just
explanation.
have to be okay with that.
You can't, but I mean, there's got to be, and we'll get into this with the litigation. When you're sitting in across the courtroom with this man, what is his demeanor like?
I laughed at him.
In court.
So
that before we get there,
You guys
No,
don't let
I'm
it
gonna back
stop
up a
you,
little
I
bit.
love it.
yeah, that's what I wanted to do is back up and bridge that gap. Before
we'll bridge
we
that
get
gap
there.
right
Yes.
here. So we got attacked Wednesday night, Thursday in the hospital, Friday in the hospital. I checked myself out Saturday
Okay.
She's
to
awesome, by the way.
to
Just
hang out with her.
beast of a man, just
Yeah.
gets stabbed and shot 4 times.
Collapsed lung.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it 4 times? How many times?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, in the hand too?
4, 5,
All
6,
over.
7, I think.
These
something like
freaking pellet rifles.
No, from inches away. But anyways, so I check out of the hospital on Saturday, hang out with her, and then the state's attorney was like, "Hey, as a bond hearing, can you guys come?" I was like, "Tracy can't make it, but I'll be there." So I showed up to the courthouse Tuesday morning. They walk him out to set a bond, and my state's attorney says one of the witnesses is here to make a statement, and he went white
Because he didn't know
because
we
he
were
thought
alive.
we were dead.
Yeah.
He
Oh, shit.
went
This is
white.
the first time he realizes
Yeah.
that
That
he
we're
sucks
alive.
at murder.
Yes.
Yeah, look at the goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I walk up, sit on the stage, and I look at him. He looked at me for a second, looked away. They asked me my injuries, told him everything, and my state's attorney and said, "How about the female?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Well, she's paralyzed from the chest down. She lost her eye. She was raped with a gun. And what was your other one? Shot down the throat."
Yeah.
And he put his head in his hands and then just wouldn't look up again the rest of the time. Judge says no bond. See you later.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I would pay to get the thoughts
It
inside.
lives
that
right
mind.
here quite often just to see that him. He
Ghost
went
white.
white.
Looking him in the eyes, yeah.
And the
only
the
imagine.
messed up part of it is that he's concerned about himself in that moment.
And his
He's
mom.
worried about himself. Me.
Yep.
It's not, thank God they're alive. Like, I really regret that decision. That's psychotic behavior.
Like the way I look at it, he was like, "Fuck, I didn't even kill them."
Yeah.
That's
Like-
ugh.
Oh, and when he was in the police car, I forgot about this too. He's like, how did he say it? Like, I don't want to say I'm not a criminal because I'm not. But it's like,
Yeah. Just,
what?
yeah, totally detached.
Totally detached, talking to
Yeah.
the police. "I'm not a bad person. I'm not a criminal." Bro, you just literally tried to end 2 people's lives.
Like viciously,
Yeah.
too.
In a
Yes, it was
horrible way.
torture.
That was
Like
was
separating
torture.
from myself from the situation. Like he literally tortured somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
For what?
because
you couldn't handle a
because he
breakup?
hit you
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
and you left him. That is, and it's unfortunate. And I could get into the heads of a lot of our audience members. It's like, how do we not see the signs? Like how, but most of the time we don't see the signs until it's over. Mm-hmm. Then someone's behavior starts really changing when they're not getting what they want anymore. Yeah. Yep. So it's just inside the mind of someone like that. It's hard to comprehend because we would never act that way. So it's impossible to do such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's exactly what was happening is he wasn't getting what he wanted anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Me taking care of him, me providing.
And he was a mooch, you said.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And he couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm. So bond is denied. Mm-hmm. Understandably so, and that's great of the judge to do that. Yep. What does it look like after that?
Years. Took years.
While he's sitting in prison, no bond, though.
No bond. They set a trial. It happened in October. I believe the first trial was set for April.
Right? I don't know. I don't remember. It was set a few times.
Because she went from Tampa General Hospital to Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation.
This is a whole other segue of the story.
This gets crazy.
This is good. This is good.
So her brother and sister-in-law get her into Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Lab up in Chicago. One world-renowned spinal cord injury hospital. She's there for 30 days doing extensive physical therapy, occupational therapy.
For like 4 hours a day.
Wow. Each 4 hours a day.
And they had me on a really strict schedule. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we'll dive into that one. Because I'm always, obviously with my injury too, I'm very, it's my biggest question is like, what does the recovery look like, right? Because the accident or incident or whatever takes several seconds, several minutes. Mm-hmm. But then the grueling, long, arduous hours that you have to spend to get back to somewhere where you're never going to be again. Yeah. And I do understand that, not at the scale that you do, but I do understand no matter how much you're going to work at it, you're never going to be what you used to be, so that is just always a tough one, realizing
it's a hard pill
that's
to
your
swallow.
That's your new life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. So she was at Shirley Ryan and then insurance only paid for 30 days of that. And then her brother and sister-in-law got her into what we thought was a long-term care facility where they were going to kind of keep everything going, what Shirley Ryan Ability Lab was doing. And that was not the case at all.
It was a nursing home.
It was a nursing home. Nobody there was qualified or equipped to take care of a quadriplegic. Mm-hmm. They didn't know how to do anything. The physical therapist there was super nice. The only one kind of on Tracy's side, as we get more into this, you'll understand. Yeah. Leaving her in her bed, in her shit for hours. I had gone back to Florida. I had moved to Florida. She told me to go. And obviously we talked every day. So while she was there, we were FaceTiming one day, and one of my best friends was in the Navy. He's a quadriplegic as well, so he's in a chair. And I was sitting at his house one day, FaceTiming with Tracy. Mm-hmm. And the nurse comes in, and Ryan goes, "Hey, set the phone up. I want to watch how they do it." Because he knows, right? So Tracy's trying to do her first, transfer.
Well, because I was sitting there for 12 hours. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I was a new injury, so I was just in so much pain. I'm like, I got to get in bed. I can't sit like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's try transfer. I was working on them. Why not? I had a slide board there. Let's do it. And the nurse finally comes in and to help me, and they're on FaceTime. And they were talking me through it before she came in. And then she comes in, sees me. I kind of scoot back into my chair. And she's like, "Okay, let me help you." And we start to do the transfer, but while they're on FaceTime, she all of a sudden freaks out and is like, no, we're not going to do this. And shoves me, pushes me back into my chair. And I'm incredibly unstable. Yeah. So I was weeb wobbling all over the place. Yeah. And Ryan freaked out. What are you doing?
Yeah, he started screaming at the nurse because she was halfway through her transfer. Yeah. And the nurse was like, "I'm uncomfortable. I can't do this," and literally just pushed her back into her chair. But if she's sitting up and I tap her, If she's not holding, she falls forward. She has no trunk control.
Yeah.
And Ryan's like, "What are you doing?" And the lady like flipped the phone down so we couldn't see anything else.
What the fuck?
And I was like, "I'm done with this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I'm coming to see you." So she finally let me come back up to Chicago December 17th. I flew up, spent a couple weeks. I was supposed to come home.
2022.
Nope. 2019.
2019.
Yep,
Sorry.
back in
We're still in
2019.
19.
So she's 2 months out of the attack, still going through recovery. Mm-hmm. I fly up to Chicago, spend a couple weeks with her, and then I'm supposed to fly home Christmas Eve. And I said, what time are your brother and sister-in-law coming to see you tomorrow for Christmas? And she goes, they're not. They might come get me for dinner. Well, I'm not going home then. There's somebody begging to get on my flight to Tampa. I'm coming back. And she's like, you don't have to. You don't have to.
I didn't want him to. I was like, just go back to Florida. I don't want you to deal with this.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to have to deal with everything that was going on.
Did you feel like a burden?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's so much. And I knew that this was going to be a long road. And I didn't want him to have to be involved and have to, suffer with me. So.
Yeah.
But you wanted to, Rick, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, so I guess that's what I was destined for.
You wanted to be there, yeah.
So let's backtrack real quick, just a little bit while she gets on a plane from Tampa, a med flight from Tampa to Chicago. Mm-hmm. I take her car, go to the house, I pack everything up because her brother and sister-in-law were saying we were going to...
How did that feel going back to that house?
Horrible.
I bet.
Because all the blood and everything was
Blood
still there.
everywhere.
They don't clean it up.
And now get this. I swear the devil wanted somebody to die near that property or on that property. While I am there packing things up, I have a couple friends with me. We hear screaming. We're like, what is that? We go out the front door. Her next door neighbor comes running out of his house with a kayak, and he goes, somebody's drowning in the pond in the back. We go running out. We see him splashing. The guy's in the kayak. I shove him, and by the time he gets out to him, he's gone. Whoa. We called the police.
And it was right in my backyard.
Like 50 yards from where we almost died. No joke.
That's the first time you're back there.
First time back at the house.
So you're fucking done with that place after this.
Oh, God. Done.
We burned it down on the way out.
So we call the police. They come out. They found the guy's body.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
At the other end of the lake, like 3 hours later.
What'd he do?
Wow.
I have no idea.
Who knows why he was in the pond? Because
it's not a pond you go swimming in. It's not a lake you go swimming in. It's a Florida,
there's
water.
Probably gators in it.
Oh, there's gators everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wild.
Yeah. So
anyway,
I pack up the house,
Yeah.
drive up to Chicago, drop everything off at her brother and sister-in-law's house. And then I said, I got to get to the hospital. I want to go see Tracy. So that's while she was at Shirley Ryan Ability Lab. And then all of a sudden I was the bad guy. Brother and sister-in-law didn't like me anymore.
Yeah, they gave me an ultimatum. They were like, okay, it's either us or him. But one thing we forgot is they had started a GoFundMe for me that raised about $40,000, almost $40,000.
Okay.
And throughout the time, you can kind of explain this because I wasn't there, but throughout the time they were saying that.
So as soon as I got to the house with everything, I was like, oh, this is a beautiful house. First time here, hanging out with their daughter, all this. And they said, yeah, we got behind on some bills. So Tracy said we could use some of the GoFundMe. And I was like, all right, whatever. Not my family, not my money. I don't care. Yeah. So a couple days later, I'm talking to her about it. She's like, I never said that. And I was like,
Because the GoFundMe was for recovery.
If you need to catch up on some bills, I got you. Don't take from her. She's now paralyzed. I'll help you guys out.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. Okay, cool. Then I became the bad guy. Because I pay attention to everything. I know what's going on. I'm the only one there with her every day. Through PT, OT, help feeding, anything
Learning
she needed.
how to cath, everything.
Clothes, because now we're in Chicago, it's winter time. She had moved to Florida. She didn't have a lot of warm clothes.
Yeah.
So I was there constantly. And then they gave her the ultimatum at Shirley Ryan of me or them. And that's where I kind of said, you know what? I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go back to Florida. So that's when I went back to Florida, was the end of November. Okay. She gets into the nursing home. I stay for Christmas. The day after Christmas, her brother and sister-in-law come in and say, we're washing our hands of you.
Stop doing that.
Sorry.
Keep slamming things. Sorry.
We're washing our hands with you. We're done. And then they told the nursing home that she was a whore, and these guys were coming in and out of the nursing home and staying in her room and all this. And I'm like, I've been here for 2 weeks, and I'm the only one that's seen her. Minus her aunt and I think 2 of her female friends.
It's so weird. Something similar happened to me in the hospital as well. Oddly enough, we'll dive into that later. Yeah, my own mother. Yeah, so we'll talk about that later.
Oh my!
Maybe not for the audience.
It's not a fun story.
Oh, jeez. So then, just after Christmas, they said, we're washing our hands of you, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I said, you know what? Screw it. Let's go back to Florida. I'll take care of you. Yeah. Sorry. And we'll figure this out together.
Yeah.
And then...
It was in January when I was released from the nursing home and when he came and got me. And we moved in together that January. So the timeline goes, we met September 26th. We were attacked October 24th in the hospital, nursing home, rehab, all of that. And then we moved in together in January.
January 7th.
You found your new family.
September to January.
Yes.
Wow.
Of 2019 to 2020. And COVID had just started.
Yeah.
Well, COVID was ramping up at 2020.
The world was shutting
January,
down.
February 2020.
It just goes to show you.
So
and,
quick.
And, you know, one of the greatest things I love about this show is hearing so many broad stories from all over the world that it just humbles you to think about, like, if you feel like you're having a shitty day, you know, because you didn't catch that green light or whatever, you got a fender bender, blah, blah, blah. Someone else is having the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and it's a true testament to your character that you just meet in a month, you're willing to remap your entire life. But you're in this adversity together as well. You've experienced this. Tell us how that has brought you two together even more closely than most relationships I'd say out there.
Side by side for the past 3.5 years. Literally.
We have a bond that, I mean,
he's my
I
best
don't
friend.
think anything will come from it or break it. It's just been...
No matter how much we fight, I mean, we don't even fight a lot, but like, no matter how much we fight, no matter what happens, like we just come back together and we're like, you know what? It's us against the problem.
Yeah.
Not the problem infiltrating us, you know?
And there's nothing you can't make it through together.
Right.
You faced the
Obviously.
worst.
Yeah.
You
Right.
faced the worst.
I obviously have a good track record of making it through hard things in life and hard experiences and coming out on top together.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, I forgot. I was
got
telling
you.
them about the GoFundMe.
I got you right now.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get back to Florida. Okay, let's use the money to kind of get situated.
Sure.
We've got $40,000. They stole half of it.
Who did?
My
Her
brother and sister-in-law.
They only sent her $18,000 out of the 40.
And we had no...
Wow.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. That's they belong with Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They sure do.
Same category.
To your own. And did this make news coverage, by the way?
No.
The attack, yes.
No, it didn't.
The attack?
The
I
attack
don't think
did.
so.
It was all over the news.
I don't know. I guess.
Yeah.
Preoccupied.
Yeah.
Well,
the time.
I was a little busy.
The attack did make the news.
But the GoFundMe was.
We called the police, tried to file all this stuff,
Talked to
contacted
lawyers.
GoFundMe, talked
Yeah.
to lawyers.
No
and
one
they
would
were
help.
like, nope, can't. It was...
So, okay, let's talk about the relationship with your brother and father now. So you probably don't talk to them ever anymore.
My brother and sister-in-law completely
Brother and
blocked me
sister-in-law,
on everything.
Yeah.
After they disowned me at the nursing home, they blocked me on everything, said we want nothing to do with you. They completely disappeared.
Yep. They went through... So
Man.
back to the attack. I know we jump around a lot, but I was advised to keep a journal through all this. So I did.
Sure.
Started writing a journal, get my feelings out, talking about things. Mm-hmm. They happened to find my journal and photocopy 56 pages of it, the whole thing, and send it to her best friend, my ex-wife,
my dad,
her dad, because in the journal on November 20th.
I thought it was November 7th or something.
Something like that. In November, I write, I don't trust Josh and Courtney controlling this GoFundMe.
Rightfully so.
Right?
Because she hooked it up to her bank account.
And I just didn't trust them. And that's kind of the biggest reason why I couldn't walk away from her. Because if I had walked away, I truly don't know if she'd still be sitting here.
Yeah.
And you were talking about our bond, and that's something that, I owe him my life.
You don't owe me anything.
Stop it. I owe him my life because he literally saved me. Who knows? Because my hands don't work. Like, there's not a lot that I can do for myself. I can't even go to the bathroom on my own. Like, without him, I wouldn't be here with you guys. I wouldn't be doing what I do every day. So the bond is just something that I can't even describe to you.
Yeah. God.
It is. It's a beautiful bond. It really is. You can tell.
And there's just a recipe of disaster in this story of just betrayed by your own. Mm-hmm. And that is, and to, quite frankly, be saved by a stranger.
Yes.
Someone who
we didn't know each other
for a few weeks. Was still better to you than your own flesh and blood was.
Mm-hmm. And the saying is, blood is thicker than water, but no one ever finishes the saying that blood will drown you faster.
Mm. Yeah.
Certainly.
Choose your family.
Yes. Yeah. My chosen family is, and it, I can't even describe it. I love them so much, and y'all know who you are if you're listening.
Yeah. And I almost want to say first and last names for the, brother and sister-in-law here. Leave some comments below and tell us what you guys think of treating your family like that. Seriously. I can't believe that, I would never see a fellow human like Jason Dubansky or the plethora of wounded vets that we've met in our crossings at this point of saying we're not going to give you all the money. Like, what?
Yeah,
you need it.
I know.
You could get a chair for it. You could get your house revamped. What do they need it for?
They said bills. I don't know.
Oh, their bills.
Yep. Yeah. They told me that they fell behind 2 months on their bills because they came to Florida for 2 weeks.
Even though they came to Florida for free.
Yep. We dug into more, and one of their neighbors had Southwest Miles.
No, it was the mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law let them use Southwest Miles to come down to Florida to be with her when she first got hurt, and they fell behind 2 months on bills. And
from their perspective, they're just blaming you guys.
Finding something, they were like, "Cha-ching! Here's our way out."
You have your answer. Yeah.
Yep.
But
that is
what makes me happy is that's not where the story ends.
Right.
No, not even close.
That's where it starts getting good and happier and
and
building from there. It was a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a heavy story, and it
is
what you guys have experienced together and what you've been able to do together. It's so unique and so beautiful and it's so inspiring. Like,
thank you.
It truly is. It truly is. I don't even have many words for it.
Well, we're just getting started on the upward trend. I'll tell you that we're not even close to.
Oh, I know it's
how high we're going.
Been a couple of years, and you guys have made it this far, and we're gonna dive into that on our next episode. But
and I just gotta say something as well, is that from the experiences and the stories and our personal stuff that we've faced, adversity defines who you are, right?
Yep.
That adversity defined who your family was, and unfortunately, it wasn't the right answer, and that's heartbreaking to find out. But it defined out who you guys were, and you guys now, anything that you face in the future,
easy.
It's easy day. It's an easy day, and that adversity, yes, like. I mean, we could stick on it and we could try to figure out what the reasoning would be. We'll never know the reasoning behind Frank's head or anyone else. But at the end of the day, you guys have each other and you function together so effectively. It's quite frankly, just inspirational. So I appreciate you guys sharing the story. And on our next episode, we're going to hopefully bring it up a little bit and definitely dive into your physical therapy, your road to recovery, your resiliency with that, while you're still facing litigation against this man.
Yes.
Right? Because that's all going on in conjunction, right? I have to do my therapy while dealing with illegal.
We just wrapped up in January 11th.
Wow. That is insanity.
Yep.
3 years.
Yep.
3 years of
Back and forth.
getting ready for it, and then them coming up with a reason why it had to be pushed, and then getting ready for it, and then coming up a reason why it had to be pushed.
We have this guy dead to rights, and it still takes 3 years to get this.
Called the police on himself, gave him a testimony, told the police that if it wasn't him that was going to make her happy, it was nobody. Like,
gave him the weapons.
Yeah.
Fingerprints, weapons.
Weapons with blood all over, shirts with blood all over.
Two phone calls.
Yeah.
2 eyewitnesses.
Yep.
Like, that's it. Like, dead to rights.
You'd think.
Well, we'll find out more here shortly. Do you guys have anything that you would like to close with? If you have something for the audience specifically before we hop into the next episode about resiliency or overcoming struggles or facing something big, do you guys have anything you want to pass?
Or picking a wise partner.
Yeah.
Just choose people that you want in your life to be productive, and surround yourself with people that love you, that genuinely love you.
Simple and true.
Yeah. And if you think you've hit rock bottom, you can come up. No matter what your rock bottom looks like. I'm stealing that one from you.
You have a choice.
Yeah. You can either let it overtake you, or you can fight it and do something about it and turn your life around. It's about no matter how bad it is.
It's about how you respond, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter the why or the what. It's how you respond.
Everything I am a true believer. If everything happens for a reason, you got to figure out that reason. Whether it be horrible, like we're now starting to figure out why this happened to us. And
taking over the world, man.
Taking over the world.
And that's what we're going to get into next, is taking over the world. I know, we've had a guest before, Jason Dabansky, on multiple times, traveling the world, doing some amazing archery things that you were doing as well. I hear.
Yes.
So let's get into that next episode. But thank you so much for joining today. Where can we find you at?
My Instagram is at Tracy_Otto, and my TikTok is at Tracy Otto.
OTTO?
OTTO, yep. TRACYOTTO. If you Google me, everything should come up.
Of course. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'm on Google now. It's so weird.
If you Google me.
Just Google Tracy Otto.
IMDb. I'm on there.
Incredible. Well, thanks so much for opening up. I know, even for me, hearing that story was it shook me for sure. So
sorry, it's so confusing. There's a lot of meat and potatoes.
It really is not confusing because a lot has happened, and I think that we have to bounce around a little bit to really connect the dots.
There's just so much that one part of the story can keep going, but then this part gets
so complex
inserted, and then this part.
It's complex, and it is 3 years of your life, and it is the rest of your life as well. So thank you again for sharing. We're looking forward to having you on and showcasing the rest of the good stuff that is happening in your life.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
This has been the Medevac podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening and watching. If you'd like to interact with myself, Dave, request guests, or just interact in general, head on over to the Medevac podcast Instagram. It's at Medevac Podcast on there, or medevacpodcast.com. You can send us an email directly. Thank you for watching, and show some love, because we love you guys.
See you next week.
Bye.